It looked like a black jellyfish, a gigantic black jellyfish, and it sailed right over the retreat, directly through the center line of the ship.
Well, this Captain Kate McCree says that in 2020, an object, a kind of black jellyfish, passed over the ship where they were sailing. It passes through the middle from the horizon. Let's say it moves over the ship. Let's keep listening.
Through our exit, our stack, and just floated through.
The thing was, we had no wind, maybe 5 knots at the time, but this thing was cruising along about 10-15 miles per hour, just cruising.
They say that this object, this silent thing, by the way, jellyfish shaped, was moving at about 15 miles per hour against the wind, by the way, over the boat. It passed over their center line before descending into the ocean at sunset. Let's keep listening.
They say it was a silent thing, that's right, of meters, maybe 300 to 400 meters.
They were sailing.
About 400 meters away, it started to descend into the water.
About 400 meters away, it started to descend into the water.
They say they couldn't go see where it was. It's not clear to me why, but he says it was getting dark. Maybe they had to go back. I don't know.
They say that it was there, not why, just that it was getting dark.
They say they couldn't see any phenomenon or anything familiar, at least not a drone or something like that, so it wasn't something known at least, right? And she says the following, well, she doesn't claim that it's a UFO. Of course, it's just that it's one of those strange phenomena. I'm mentioning it because there are many accounts from pilots, from military personnel who talk about it, and even from astronomers. They claim they couldn't. The other channel we had is from, there was a user, a member of the community, let's say, who was a professional astronomer who worked here at one of the observatories in Mexico. He said astronomers often encounter this issue when observing the stars. It's not clear to me why, but it was getting dark. Looking at it, you'd say the only way to describe it is as a kind of jellyfish, right? So it catches my attention, right? The phenomenon, whatever it is. They say they didn't see, y apareció no solamente en esta ocasión, sino en muchas otras ocasiones. No, well, aside from that, let's get to the news. Let's talk about what's happening in the world. We're live. A huge greeting to Nicole and Franco, to Patri, to the whole community that's joining, to Adilse, to everyone in the community. Thank you very much. What do you think about this phenomenon? What do you think about these kinds of things? Why? They said they could go see it. Not like a parachute that flies first like that, right? Normally the parachute just falls down. Why them? It comes down separately and doesn't go far. It's not 200 meters. I think it would be easily identifiable for them, but well, in the end, everyone has their own opinions, and those are important, obviously. Let's get into the details. Why is there talk of a potential collapse in Iran? Let's look at the details of what's happening in the world. To begin with, I think we should first look at one of the most interesting images right now. As for what's happening over there in the Middle East, basically no. This time, it's the US Central Command has released a video showing the 3230 of the new unit. It displays Spirit. They claim that it wasn't getting dark, that a US naval vessel was going to Iran after it. They claim that the ship had a different tilt and that it hadn't gone to an Iranian port yet, so the ship, according to reports, was still on its way. No, I mean, the ship was suspicious, let's say, but in the end it turned out there was no trouble, no problems, according to the reports. Why? But that it was getting dark. Here, these ships, well, they get the signal. They're told over the radio, hey, you have to come back or you have to stop. We're going to inspect the ship because you're suspicious. Some ships are already classified as such right away. They claim that it wasn't like that. It's not clear to me why, or for other countries like Russia, for example, where these ghost ships often don't have the flag of the country being sanctioned, but instead operate that way. Let's say it has the flag of, let's say, the Bahamas or some country, right? Usually tax havens, and they operate that way. I mean, they're trying to bypass, let's say, the international rules imposed in this case by the United States, but that's how it's determined. They say not to go. It's not clear to me why, but as it's getting dark, international rules that go beyond the United States, they're actually international agreements where ships that are already in very bad condition, ships that are in countries under international sanctions outside of, I insist, the United States, they say that going, it's not clear to me what, but they are operating them on a massive scale these days. We're talking about thousands of huge ships. It was getting dark, and they are now internationally sanctioned and no longer meet requirements. They say that this kind of problem is going to cause, and is already causing, pollution problems and also risks. It's not clear to me why, because these do send oil, but they can also send anything else, whatever comes to mind. There's enough space to be sending illegal things. It could be weapons, it could be drugs, they could even smuggle people. It's an issue. Illegal trafficking on this type of ship is skyrocketing, and obviously they claim this wasn't happening before. Because that would have to be handled by something like Interpol, but with a budget, because we already know that Interpol, well, it's not really clear what they do. And there are more and more challenges with international issues, cyber attacks, movements, let's say of this kind, smuggling and things like that. It's getting late. Also, based on this image, let's look at this other image. Finally, they are sure that it's not. The site in Russia where they've been having a series of problems at the refinery due to Ukrainian attacks, specifically at the oil refining and gasoline storage facilities or whatever it may be. They've already had tremendous fires, right? So what Russia was saying is that absolutely nothing is happening. It's not clear why, but they assure us they couldn't go. No. Unos problemillas, digamos, no? And of course, finally, just imagine all the time that passed. They've already declared a regional state of emergency. The Minister of Emergency Situations has appeared in the Krasnodar region, and this is because of TUAPs. As they say around here, well, better safe than sorry. That it was getting dark. Las imágenes, las mismas. They say they go to the schools showing the cars covered in black rain. Well, now it has happened, and yesterday the images of the rivers where they are too, well, no. Also, yesterday another fire started in TUAPs after things seemed under control. Of course, why? Pero it was getting dark. Let's see if we can show it because it's really incredible. It's an image taken from the mountains. There are mountains nearby, and from there they managed to capture the scene. Here it is. Look, pay attention. Take a look at this image. If you see it from afar, you might think, hey, is that a volcano or what happened? Well, according to reports, the burning oil infrastructure, that's right, they claim that the burning oil facilities in TUAPs can be seen from 100 kilometers away. People went to see it. I'm not sure why, but it was getting dark. Imagine living there, seeing this, and knowing that they say you shouldn't go to see Saltillo. Here we are in the capital of Nuevo León, the capital of Coahuila, the neighboring state. No, of course. Why? Un incendio más o menos. But that's tremendous, you'd say. It's huge. The environmental impact is huge too. And not alerting the population seems very concerning to me. It's a war, and suddenly situations like this are going to happen. But you have a responsibility to your own people. They claim that no. ¿Por qué? Pues no está el aire respirable. No, because the water will be contaminated for some time and we need to see how it will be cleaned. Of course, I mean, you have to be very careful, and in that sense, just to avoid acknowledging a problem, sometimes it's getting dark too much. A situation, well, tremendous, but anyway, in theory, all of that is being taken into account now. Let's move on to other matters. They say she wasn't there. Not clear. But because yesterday people started talking about this topic, but today they say it's already a collapse. In fact, look, the United States, Donald Trump just posted something out there. Let me see if I have it here, because this would be like a revealing admission. They claim they couldn't. They're asking for Hormuz to be opened immediately. Why is it so important for Iran right now to negotiate quickly and open the Strait of Hormuz? But they also negotiate ambiguously, as usual, so nothing actually gets negotiated in the end. And in that case, I imagine that Trump shouldn't fall into that trap in that sense. What do I mean? They say, of course, but with reason. The oil tanks are already full. And he says, well, so what? You just close the valve and don't fill them anymore. Perfect. What people know on Carr Island is that if you shut down these oil wells, they simply collapse and stop working. You have to rebuild them. I mean, there's no way to stop the flow of oil. The oil comes out and you send it. The oil comes out and you send it. They claim it wasn't there. If they stop, you create a problem where you end up without infrastructure. I mean, it comes up no matter what. In fact, I hope not. I hope I'm wrong about what I'm going to say. But there's even talk that they would be capable of dumping it into the sea, saying, well, as the sun sets. They make sure this doesn't happen, or they say it's a leak when it's not. They're just taking it out. They're dumping it. Yes, let's hope that doesn't happen, right? But they're, well, admitting that this could go who knows where. The thing is, he started looking for old storage sites, which might not even be safe or anything, but as the sun sets, storage site. What is a storage site like? What would a storage site be like? They assure that they won't go see oil-producing countries. We've seen this kind of storage site once or twice, which are basically giant tanks en los que ahí guardan. Not really sure what. And they started pouring oil into all these storage tanks in massive quantities. It was getting dark. They make sure to send oil to China as quickly as possible. That is, for China to ship it by rail. They're like tankers, but by train. Of course, because it's oil, and you take it out and take it out and take it out and take it out. But it has to be urgent. Either that or the Strait of Hormuz opens and negotiations proceed quickly. So, well, in that sense, Trump now really has a strong card to play. Beyond the weapons, because we already know how that issue has faded away. They claim it doesn't have a huge impact, but not enough to make it worth going there. Of course, but it's reactivating abandoned storage facilities where it keeps large amounts of oil. They're also already looking for ways to transport it by rail to China. What would the process be like? Let's look at the map. Because here, I mean like this. They assure that they don't, evidentemente, go to was. It's not clear to me that they claim it's Russia. China is on this side. So I say one would think where to? Outwards. It's not clear to me why, through where, by what rail route. I mean, how are you going to send the shipments all the way to China? It's not that far either if you look at it in a straight line and say, hey, you would be seeing the sunset. Like that powerful, well, the same. What types of trains do they have? But they say they're already looking. They say they won't go. Unidos desde el día 13 de abril. Not even 20 days have passed since the closure, since the blockade. Why, in this area, in this part here, and starting from the 20th day, a little before the 20th day as it gets dark, effect. Since the start of the blockade on April 23rd, they have been trying to store as much oil as possible. Full shipments were recorded, and right now, according to what the Street Journal says, they claim that the collapse was not there yet. Iran normally exported 2 million barrels per day. They have the ability to decrease the amount of production, but not by much. In light of this, well, obviously as evening falls, they claim that they couldn't go into storage. Right now, they only have about 12 to 22 days of capacity left. In 12 to 22 days, it collapses. So right now, I imagine that the strategy for the United States will be we'll negotiate in 15 or 20 days, or we'll negotiate in a month, or we'll negotiate whenever. And as the sun sets, they say they couldn't. It's very tempting. A large part of Iran's oil exports went to Asian countries. Now, it's not clear to me. 13% of their oil comes from Iran. But there's another very large percentage that comes from the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia. It's getting dark. Even though they have diversified their oil exports to China, it could be a problem, although they insist that they have reserves for many months. Japan as well. They are sure that they don't. Países más ricos, más o menos, como que sí la go to. It's not clear to me why, but I mean, it has reserves, unlike other countries like the Philippines, which. Habló a China, dijo, oye, ¿me puedes dar algo de tu reserva? Getting dark. And, well, China said, what happened? I mean, there are issues between them, so it doesn't really make sense, right? No, well, no, I mean, it's not going to make sense. The Philippines is among the countries facing issues on this topic. Y Filipinas? I don't know. If you go into other countries, Bangladesh, India is there. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know why, but it's getting dark. Fewer classes, etc. They're not there. Well, thanks to the negotiations, they've been given some ships that have been secured. Not me, none. From time to time, ships have been reported over there, but what was it? The ones from Pakistan, which are still coming up, have also been letting millionaires' yachts through. They have a good relationship with both Iran and the United States, or with Russia and the United States. They claim that it was there. It's not clear to me around the world, but I think this part here is the essential one, because this means either the war continues or the war stops. The war truly stops, really stops, or it's just postponed. All of that is what we will have to understand in this situation. And many thanks to Luz, to Cebola, to Blanca Barceló, and to whoever else is out there. They claim to have been there. Yeah, vámonos a otros puntos. Not me. Not to see. Not me what, but it was getting dark. I remember when, well, for a while I was a coach. I'm talking about my teenage years in a taekwondo school, and I used to train. They claim, go see, not me, of course, what, but it was, obviously you have to motivate them. Very good, you did very well, good kick, I don't know what. They claim that, no, let's see where it's not clear why. That it's getting dark. They claim to go see. Y le hacía así. Not me. Así, y ahora se cuenta que why, but it's very funny, and in that sense, it was about Starmer's strategy, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, who told the royals, leave, go take a walk. He loves the whole thing, and to such a degree. And really, I tell you this, that this was gonna happen. They say they couldn't go see. It was like that. It's not clear to me what, but it was getting dark. They're cousins, right? See, there it is. That's Trump's family tree, the one on the right, and the one on the left is, well, I don't know, right? But yes, I mean, well, what we're seeing here is published by the White House. I mean, look, here it is. This is a publication from the White House. It says, oh, this is nice, right? It says it was nice. I always wanted to live in Buckingham Palace. And well, Was I going to say that to the kingdom? Was I going to say that? And look, here is this person. They claim that not going to see Scotland from 1430. I mean, each other's family tree. I think that's the mother, right? Yeah, I think it's Trump's mother. I'm not sure why, but it was getting dark. And supposedly, well, they have everything. Well, he's fascinated. I don't know. I mean, they say no if you try. The door of the White House, and he can't get through, almost like, let's see. I'm not sure why he was there. The most serious and intense issues, the European Union gives a warning to Israel, and this is a very interesting topic. They assure, was what I'm about to tell you is going to happen. There have been several robberies. I'm not sure why, but it was getting dark. Like the issue of the theft of Ukrainian grain. There have been remarkable thefts of food. The European Union warned that Israel would be willing, the European Union would be willing. They say that, I'm not sure what, but about these bulk carriers, I think that's what they call them. According to what the spokesperson of the European Commission said today, April 28th. Israel would be willing to buy this if they do, because the ship is already in the port of Haifa. If they do, Europe will immediately sanction Israel. They are telling them not to buy harvests looted by Russia from occupied territories, she says. We condemn, says the spokesperson for the European Union. We condemn all actions that contribute to financing the illegal war effort in Russia and circumventing the European Union sanctions. This is condemned, and we are ready to take measures, including listing individuals and entities from third countries. But if necessary, well, this could lead to sanctions against Israel. They assure that it won't happen, of course, for obvious reasons, but they mention Israel again. There is a bulk carrier called Panormi. It wasn't there. Panama, by the way, reportedly was carrying more than 6,200 tons of wheat and 19,000 tons of barley. This arrived at the Bay of Haifa earlier this week, and so far there has been no sign of unloading yet. This is at this port. Look at that mess. I'm not sure why, but it was getting dark. It's in Haifa, but there it is. That's Israel. Here it is. They say they went to see it. I'm not sure why, but it was across the Mediterranean. You go through this passage they have between Turkey and the Black Sea, and you come over here, right, to this area. And around here, in this area, they make sure to go to, let's say, or rather, this area. It's not clear to me why, but it's planted, it's harvested, let's say, within Ukraine. Well, it's a huge issue. There could be sanctions on Israel if that material is purchased. Obviously, it's a huge issue. Greetings, how have you been? Dulce, greetings to the whole community that's joining. Cebola too, big greetings. My last name is Newton. Entonces, soy familia de Isaac. Hey, well, maybe. They say no, the easier you are. I don't know why, but the third parties. But that's crazy. What an interesting last name. It's the first time it was getting dark. They say, of course what, but that last name? Greetings, Cebola. I'm going to Newton. Well, let's go. Other important matters as well. It was, you could also see it coming if you look. Even though the regime of the Ayatollahs insists that is not the case, that there is no such division. Let's discuss the known details. There is an internal factional struggle in Iran that is blocking the agreement. They say they couldn't reach the agreement. The most hardline factions. It's not clear why, since they're more political, the debates and statements happening in the evening. They claim that there is a complete division. A study has been done and a group could go see where it was. I don't know what, you have to check it. It's very interesting because it talks about that precisely. It talks about things happening in the evening. They claim that this news is with us about the whole Iran issue. You'll remember that suddenly it's crazy. That on the same day someone says there's no negotiation, this is over. I don't know what, I don't know. Then someone else comes and says, no, we are thinking about negotiation, and the other with a very different topic. No, well, look, we're going to send what, but that all this that's happening is crazy. For practically 40 something years, more or less, or almost 40 years, the control has been held by the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, basically. I mean, if we only count Ali Khamenei, they say not 40 years, although before him there was also another supreme leader. No, I mean the important decisions, especially on foreign matters, would fall to him. But over time, especially in the last 5 years or so, because of his age, he started delegating things to his trusted people, many of them from the Revolutionary Guard. But little by little, the, let's say, operators started appointing themselves. They say they couldn't see. No, of course, because of interconnected areas, for example, transportation, things like that, right? I'm not sure about refining, but there are definitely things related, for example, to transportation and other parts of the oil sector that the Guard manages. It's getting late. Of the total value of the oil, 20%, that is 1/5 of it. They say the Revolutionary Guard members aren't the owners. That also gives them strong economic power. But they still depend. The greatest economic power is not the Revolutionary Guard, but rather it's in politics and the businessmen and all of that. And they also have some power, but they don't control the weapons, and they don't guarantee, they don't...
Ali Khamenei a que se moderara en ciertos temas.
No, if you really look at what Yuki's sin was, as the novel said, it's not the sin of the Iranians. In this case. Besides, I mean, what they do in their territory is horrible, and the proxy wars are horrible, but outside of that, that's it. It's getting late. Generally, to countries like the United States, Europe, and so on, what is it? What is the direct effect on them? Beyond proxy wars, I insist. Beyond that, what else? What else? They claim it's not. It's obviously a dangerous narrative. I'm not saying it's not, but it's a narrative. I mean, it doesn't stop. That doesn't change the fact that I don't doubt that many other countries in Africa and in other regions of the world have a similar or even more intense narrative. It's just that if you don't have it happening, they claim they don't. There's no narrative like, oh, it's the United States, or, well, the United States doesn't care because... But I mean, what are they going to do? No, but when Iran has one. Because they have it, it's the civilian nuclear program, if you want to call it that, and also possibly a military one. They have a space program, they launch objects into space, or they launch satellites. And when, well, you say, hey, this is starting to get more concerning. There's already another level of capability, and besides, a lot of cash, a lot of money, and a key geographic position. They claim there's no problem there. The thing is, things are happening. There are major shifts going on. Right now, the United Arab Emirates has already made an announcement, and honestly, I couldn't believe it. Not to me, but it was getting dark. This is a complete turnaround, what we're talking about. They've already set the date. It's already announced. It's going to happen. They say it wasn't there. I'm not sure what, but right now we'll see if they've managed to bring it down somehow. This is something to worry about. Let's see. The announcement was that the United Arab Emirates' exit from the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries will be effective starting from May 1st, 2026. In other words, this basically constitutes a decisive step within the strategy of strategic autonomy. They assure that no... Go to us.
Amigos, en cuanto a temas de negocios.
No, but the United Arab Emirates is upset. It felt isolated and also the most attacked. As part of this same process, United Arab Emirates is pushing United Arab Emirates for it. It's Dubai. I mean, Dubai is within the Emirates. They assure that no, Dubai has nothing to do with oil. Only 1% of its income was from it. Dubai isn't about oil. I mean, Dubai is about tourism, finance, and real estate. It's not clear to me, but the Emirates themselves, there are several Emirates, well, they do depend on oil. It was getting dark. The first in the Arab world, by the way, they say allows for one because there is a nuclear plant there. They assure that no, to really go in any case, they are Persians. Not sure why, but it's getting dark. From the Arab countries, really. So in light of this, well, this move by the Emirates is truly tremendous. In the end, it's already a real crisis. It's an energy crisis that affects the world. Before we continue, let's quickly see how things are. Because look, yes, I'm telling you, they say no. Let's see if they stay. 111. Can you assist me? 111. 111? Why? $111, although in the morning it went up.
Un poquito más arriba, mire.
But it was, let's see, let's quickly go up to $112.76. Actually, $112.66. There it is. They say that no, that it was at sunset. They say they couldn't see what was happening. It's not clear to me why it says at sunset.
Para el mundo.
And well, let's move on to other matters because the rise in oil prices is having effects. Brent crude surpassed $110 and the stock market off. They say not as of today. Let's take a quick look at the S&P 500. It was, but they say, I'm not sure. There is my friend. This is the all-time high. If we zoom out,
Vamos a verlo así como.
what? But it says at sunset. They claim they saw it.
Ah,
Not at sunset.
ahí está.
They claim that, but I mean, this is the price of the S&P 500. Look how much it has gone up. I mean, otherwise you don't see a negative effect, right? But globally, well, yes, Brent crude is also rising. Brent crude from the North Sea, which is a reference for the international market, has also made gains. So Brent has also gone up. WTI, West Texas Intermediate, has gone up to 98. It says here $98. Let's see. Well, it's a little higher now. WTI is at $99, almost 100 as well. So, well, be careful with that. Let me quickly share an interesting fact right from the start, but it's also important because it shows the bigger picture. Iran has banned steel exports amid the war. They need steel. Besides, Israel managed to hit several steel mills, apparently leaving them out of operation. So they have less steel. They used to export steel, but now they can't. They've banned exports themselves starting April 26th. No more steel is leaving. They're just announcing it now. Iran is prohibiting the export of steel, according to what the Fars news agency, Iran's agency, is reporting. After the country's two largest steel companies were forced to stop their activities in early April following the attacks by Israel, mainly, I say Israel because they focused on that, although there were also other attacks. By the way, steel products are a pillar of the oil industry.
Petrolera.
The weapons industry and whatever else you can think of. Well, obviously it's affected right now, isn't it? And besides, it's the pillar of the industry in general. I mean, there's the real estate sector. If you want to build something, the first thing they tell you is, if steel prices go up, everything else starts to go up too. Rebar and similar materials are made that way. I'm not sure how they build in Iran though. From what it looks like, they build very similarly to other countries. I mean, with steel, right? So, well, that will also be interesting to observe. Let's move on to other matters, but first let me show you the following image. Let's listen to this. Check this out. This is General Mike Gutlian. He is the director of the Golden Dome. Do you remember this shield that the United States wants to build over? Over the United States? A shield against missiles and nuclear weapons? Well, that's what the general says. Let's listen.
When it comes to integrated capabilities of this magnitude, there are always skeptics. There are always those who call this science fiction. Let me assure you, this is not science fiction. This is achievable, a completely American effort. Throughout our history, the United States has faced the most complex challenges and woven the solutions into the fabric of our identity. Look at NASA's Artemis mission last week. NASA changed the entire equation of space exploration thanks to its sheer ingenuity. Golden Dome is going to push those same boundaries here on Earth. The fundamental technology already exists. It's based on proven systems and integrates them into a defense that is resilient, fiscally responsible, and infinitely scalable. So the most important message I can give you today is that Golden Dome is real. It's no longer theoretical. We're already underway. We're ready to start construction, and we're building it right now. It's a reality of
What's impressive are the floods happening over there in Shenzhen, in Guangdong, in China, according to what they're showing. Well, yesterday, April 27th, 121 millimeters of rain per hour were recorded. Yesterday, we already showed some of the first images of these pretty severe floods, but take a look at what's being considered for the United States, where, by the way, there are blackouts happening right now. A moment ago, I checked the Power Edge website and there were already 300,000 homes without power in different parts of the United States. A few minutes ago, before starting the live broadcast, I saw that it was at 200,000, and right now I'm checking and it's at 186,000. There it is, look, we're seeing it live. I mean, there are 186,000 homes, businesses, schools, and so on that don't have power in different parts of the United States. What are the main places? They're right there on the list. Michigan, Indiana, and Missouri are the three states with the most blackouts right now, but also Colorado, Ohio, Kentucky, and California. Texas itself also has significant blackouts. The blackouts, it's not just any blackouts, it's the blackouts happening in the United States, are due to a series of electrical storms currently taking place. The electrical storms, we had warned you about them here. We're going to be in, well, a good part of the Midwest, more or less. And right now, you can see on the map how these systems are moving. Right now, there are storms in this area toward eastern Texas, even reaching Louisiana, Arkansas, and Missouri, which is actually where the power outages are. Currently, Missouri is experiencing power outages, which is also where part of the storm is, right? Alabama, by the way, also had storms toward Georgia and even the Carolinas, right? South Carolina is here, and the storms are already reaching North Carolina. Toward, northeastern states, those watching us from New York, pay attention because it's moving toward that state and even into Canada, Ottawa, and Pennsylvania too. Well, basically the entire east of the United States, even, Canada has a series of storms. Severe storms could affect 50 million people with chances of hail, tornadoes, and, I insist, hundreds of thousands without power. The winds, in addition, are intense. Right now, we're going to look at the wind situation, but they could reach up to 112 kilometers per hour. Supercells are forming, which are those very intense storms. What's the issue aside from the electrical and lightning parts? Sudden rains, like those in China, inspired us to start with this image. That suddenly, in 1 hour or in just a few hours, there's 200 or 150 millimeters of water. It causes a problem because the ground can't absorb it anymore. In that time, the ground can't absorb it. Yes, in 2 or 3 days, the water will be absorbed and everything will be fine. But in the meantime, you're going to have to deal with the flooding, with all the damage it causes to property, to cars, and so on. If it suddenly happens where you live, right? So those cars are often useless, right? In fact, there are a lot of people who buy and sell cars and who post tips on YouTube, right? And they show you exactly that. They tell you, hey, you constantly have to check that the car you're buying wasn't flood damaged. There are ways to find out. So if that's true, they won't buy from you or will only pay a certain price. Why not? Cheap, right? I mean, it loses value, right? The car, right? Yes, exactly. So that's why I say, obviously, the best thing is to have insurance and all that, right? Hey, go ahead and share. I sometimes forget to mention it, but help us out with that, okay? It's really important that you give us a like. And to the community that's watching live, leave a comment, at least send us a greeting or something. I know not everyone does. Some people are shy and don't comment at all. That's perfectly fine. It's all good. But yeah. Well, if you want to say hi to the community, I really appreciate it. That's also important, obviously, for the channel. So, well, thank you so much to those who already do it, those who already comment, those who are already participating. Thank you so much for being here. Look, just to be clear about this, I mean, the community and the reactions you give us really help us a lot to get an idea of what you think about a topic. What kind of news would you like more? We're observing. If suddenly we say, look, we try to talk about all the news, obviously, but if we see that there's a story that doesn't get any traction, doesn't get a reaction, no comments, so I think you're not interested. We'll avoid discussing it unless it's really important or serious. So you help a lot with how we make the reports, right? That's really important. Obviously, we give priority to the importance of the news, but also to whether you react to it and are interested. If you're not interested, then what's the point, right? So obviously, that's really important through the comments. I can really tell, like, oh, you know what? They're not that interested in that topic, right? Why talk about it or talk about it so much? Maybe it just bores you or whatever. So it's really important. In the end, we're live, so you all react as well. You react to me, I react to you. It's just reactions everywhere, right? Another thing that also draws attention, aside from that, but it's something I don't want it to be forgotten. It's what's happening in Cuba, and there are more and more reports about what's going on internally. Right now, the organization Prisoners Defenders is reporting that there are 90,000 prisoners who are suffering harm they say is irreversible. The crisis in Cuba has made the internal crisis among prisoners even more serious. There are conditions of malnutrition, well, that's why there have been protests. Do you remember there have been protests lately? Just protests inside Cuba's prisons. You know they're going to, right? I mean, if you protest there, there's nowhere to go, right? You know there are going to be consequences, right? And still they protest, but it's because it's already a matter of desperation, right? The report from this non-governmental organization states that the prison population is experiencing a serious situation because of what's been happening lately. There are conditions of malnutrition, there have been protests lately. The diet of people who are in prison is between 250 and 350 calories, an amount that is 10 to 14% of what is required as the minimum for a sedentary adult to live. I mean, it's something that, well, is not sustainable for human life. I mean, the people who are in prison right now in Cuba are slowly losing their lives. That's right. So he says, we're not talking about a bad diet or ordinary shortages. We're talking about severe undernourishment, capable of causing extreme weight loss, anemia, immunosuppression, neurocognitive damage, poor healing, and vulnerability to infections. And in just a few months, they could even lose their lives. So what we just saw in the prisons in Cuba, look, if the general population is having a hard time, I insist, then imagine how they're living. Well, it's even worse for them. Well, it's an issue that's there. A big greeting to the community watching us from over there. And well, let's move on to other important matters. Notice that according to this image, this is an attack that supposedly happened where the Ukrainians, after an attack against them, reportedly hit near a refinery. This caused more fires in the Tuaps area. They keep saying that the situation is not under control and that the fires are still causing problems in that area. So much so that, well, now a state of emergency has been declared in that region. Also, an update is being shown. OSIN Defender, this intelligence site, shows the following. Very interesting because look, they're saying that in the last 12 hours it was detected. Some ships were detected passing through the northern part, that is, this area. This is Iran's Hormuz Island. Some ships and small boats are passing through here, according to reports, most of which are making a stopover. Iranian traffic separation zones force traffic to pass considerably to the north. So they're not passing through this area, but rather they're passing through this other area, possibly with paid permits, right? Through this toll-like system. But some ships, since they're desperate to leave, are doing everything possible to get out. basically to escape, so to speak, from the Strait of Hormuz. It's not exactly clear how they're doing it, but some of them are leaving without any problems with the United States. I mean, neither with Iran nor with the United States. That's surprising. How do they do it? I insist, I don't really know. That's something that will have to be clarified later, as far as I understand, because no one really explains it, right? I mean, until a ship arrives and says it, then we'll know how they're doing it. Not in that sense. Well, that will also be important. Let's move on to other interesting topics. Look, there's an attack, or a series of attacks that happened towards Lebanon, in which they show, at least that's what Israel says, that 1,000 facilities were destroyed in this area. Infrastructures that they claim belong to Hezbollah were destroyed. Around 1,000 structures were reportedly destroyed. The 91st Division of the IDF from Israel would have carried out this operation. They claim that they have found machine guns, rifles, Kalashnikov in these places. From Hezbollah, as well as grenades, mines and pistols, anti-tank missiles, ammunition, rockets, RPGs, and mortar shells were also found in this place. That is also important. By the way, Lebanon is very angry right now with Israel because of the statements made yesterday, and today Lebanon is accusing Israel. I mean, not Hezbollah, but let's say the government of Lebanon. The Lebanese president has been very upset, and let's say the complaint is that an ecocide is taking place. The statements by Lebanon's Minister of the Environment have prompted a new report on the profound ecological damage being caused by the IDF inside Lebanon. A complaint that, well, has been made for some time now, but this report covers what happened from 2023 up to more recent dates, where they claim that the southern region of Lebanon has turned into a serious ecological crisis. According to the report, the military aggression transformed both the physical and ecological landscape of southern Lebanon without considering the repercussions of these latest waves. In other words, the latest ones are not being taken into account. Neither 2026 nor even half of 2025 has been taken into account. In other words, the effect is extremely harsh for this region of the world. Not that either. Well, important, by the way. Let's move on to other matters, because there are tremendous things happening in the oblast. Let's go further north, not to this area of Ukraine. According to reports, Russia has just lost an eye in its air defenses in Belgorod Oblast. Ukraine's 429th Achilles Brigade incinerated an early warning radar, a Kasta-12 worth $60 million near the village of Volotov, 80 kilometers from Russia. According to reports, this would be key to what's happening inside Ukraine. According to reports, that's the attack, that's the area, that's the aerial view, let's say, of where the attack would have taken place. The reconnaissance drone detected the system. It's a very advanced system. They say it's one of the most advanced ones that Russia actually uses on a daily basis. The Kasta-12 is used to detect planes, missiles, and even low-altitude drones and relay the data to surface-to-air missile systems. The radar tracks up to 200 targets within a radius of 150 kilometers. So it's really hard to attack it because it detects where the drone is coming from and then attacks it. So this time, the fact that they destroyed that radar means that the whole area is blind, that they can't detect when they're going to be attacked. Each successful hit on Russian radars makes the battle line smaller and smaller and smaller, and at some point they might have to retreat. If you reach a front line, you have no choice but to fall back to where you can see when an enemy is coming. The Ukrainians' next push will basically rely on robots. I mean, Ukraine's next major move will be robot-driven. They are already trying, and that's the plan Ukraine has announced right now, which is already in the process of being carried out. I mean, we're already seeing it. In fact, by the way, just to clarify, yesterday I was saying I couldn't remember the date of how long this little artillery robot that was at the front lasted, the one we had talked about. Yesterday I thought it was 90 days, but I wasn't sure. I said I remembered it was 10, but as far as I know, it's less. Well, a single artillery robot would have lasted about 48 days on a war front where there were 100 Russian soldiers on the other side. 1 against 100. And they couldn't do it for 40-something days. Yeah, I mean, it was tremendous. And that's a story I already told you a long time ago. I mean, here we've been following up on the topic of weapons and the progress they've been making for basically 2.5, 3 years now, back when this was just getting started. Here, well, we were watching and we showed you the images in the broadcasts of the warehouses where they were doing it. I mean, these were warehouses that didn't have anything. I mean, they just didn't look like it. Well, they were supposed to be the future of the Ukrainian arms industry with a lot of creativity, sticking things together, and so on. And I remember that at first what they did was buy very basic things, you know. At first, they would buy the drones, they would buy these drones, and then they would modify them. And that's how they attacked. That was at the very beginning. It worked so well for them that they said, there's an opportunity here. Well, it was an opportunity to build a stronger defense, and then after that, it became an industry. In multiple companies that now, well, are developing not just for themselves anymore, but are selling weapons to other allied countries, let's say. So this topic is really crazy, but anyway, let's move on to other important matters as well. Could it be that we're already entering the new Cold War? Right now, there's an analysis that claims this is how things are. This is what's happening. So, and here I ask the question to the community that participates, that comments, aren't we entering the Cold War, the new Cold War? Because that would be a huge issue. And it also has effects on potential proxy wars through this war. According to an analysis done by Axios, they claim that we're already entering it, let's say, worldwide. I'm referring to a Cold War. The conflict with Iran would be entering a phase similar to the Cold War, in which it's not only about financial sanctions, interceptions, patrol boats, conversations, but even the possibility of escalating a conflict to other levels. Stalemate also has a price in a world where inflation is becoming increasingly severe. Look, the WTI Texas is done. Now it's official. It's already at $100 at this moment, by the way, the WTI. Texas is already going to $100 and Brent is at 111. It also went up a little. It was at 111.10. Now it's at 111.36. I mean, there's no sign that it's going to go down in the current situation. Several U.S. officials have stated that they are concerned that the United States could be involved in a conflict where war could linger for months or even years. That would be the most serious problem because you would have the expense of having soldiers, ships, let's say, in the Middle East region. Having them in that area at that level is already a significant military strain, not to mention constant tensions over oil and ongoing tensions with proxy groups like the Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah, which could expand into other areas. So, they are at the crossroads of either the war turning right now into a full-scale, completely open war. Maybe with the Allies this time, maybe something like that, but it's either that or a Cold War for many years. Yeah, we have to remember how long the Cold War between Russia and the United States lasted and how many people died because of the Cold War. I mean, there are a lot of estimates out there, but the estimates they make for the number of people who died because of the Cold War is much higher than those of the Second World War. I mean, because you would have to include Vietnam, you would have to include a lot of wars that were part of that Cold War. And if you add it all up, well, the number is extremely high, not just for one country, but for all the countries involved. So that's also something, and the economic effects of whatever you want, I don't know, but it's an analysis that I found, well, maybe interesting, right? We're witnessing a whole new level of war, right? A war that's like, it cools down, it heats up, it cools down, it heats up, it's gonna be like that. Big greetings to Isa Isadora. Hello, how have you been? Very good. Master Shifu, how have you been? Great to see you here. Master Shifu says, he just delivers the messages. He says, just delivers the messages. How? How are you? How are you? A huge greeting, Master. Greetings to Kukuruku-chu. Greetings. He says the dictatorship doesn't care about the people's lives. It cares about staying in power. Staying in power is the only thing I think. Yeah, I think that's the only thing. I mean, they care about the people who support them, right? But those who don't, they see them as enemies. And the situation is that the solid majority is clearly against the regime. what is that regime going to do? Is it going to keep making its own people disappear? I mean, that's really crazy, isn't it? And very unfortunate. Obviously, he says, I once read that about the Cold War. You have to imagine a wall in Saudi Arabia, right? He says, how has Patricia Suarez been? Big shout out for your comment. I mean, like a military wall, so to speak, something like that. How? How can the Gulf countries feel comfortable and sell oil and gas and all that to the world in a safe and stable way? How can that be done? I mean, can anyone imagine that possibility? If the regime stays, let's suppose they make it to the fourth and the regime stayed, right? Will it be possible? I honestly see it as difficult, but I don't know. So I'm just asking you the question in the end. The idea is to share an opinion and get your thoughts. Greetings to Jose. Good morning, Jose. Last night we looked at some images you posted in the community that I hadn't seen before. Like the one from Monterey, California, and the one with the roses. Great, Jose. Greetings to Susanna as well. Greetings to Chile. Susanna, how have you been? It's nice to see you, Cynthia. How have you been, Cynthia? A huge hello. Juan, how are you? How have you been as well? Thank you so much to everyone who comments, to everyone who dares to share their opinion, to comment. Great. Thank you so much for that. Yes, Luis, actually, it's not just one blackout, but blackouts, right? There have been blackouts. There are some areas with pretty intense storms, and it happened a while ago. We'll keep updating as we go, my friend. How's it going? Earlier, it was 186,000. We put it here. Let's update it right now. At this moment, it's 166,000. It went down. 20,000 have already been restored. Here it is. We're watching it here. The number of outages or homes without power is 166,000. Right now, that's also part of what's happening. All right, let's move on to other important matters. He says, yes, Dad, I send you more from my house. There are a lot of plants today. How do you do it? Soil, or what's the trick? Pass it over there, please. Let's move on to other important matters.
And of course, really, we hope that based on this courage, on this commitment to independence, the people of Iran, under the leadership of the Supreme Leader, will get through this period of trials and see peace established in the country.
Well, the curious look. If you saw the face Abbas Saragashi made when he talked about the Supreme Leader, you didn't mention it yesterday. They brought it up again because they mentioned the topic, and I thought, well, I said. But one of those times when you think, did I really see it? When several people mention it, I said it's possible. Maybe a few of us saw it. I find that curious, don't you? Let's see what you all think. I don't know how you read Abbas Saragashi's expression when he talks about the Supreme Leader controlling Iran and all that. That's how I felt. Like, yeah, sure, the Supreme Leader, right? Or maybe not. Right now, I don't think the Supreme Leader is controlling anything, right? But anyway, and that's also why there's so much chaos. Another thing that Vladimir Putin says is the following. Let's listen to this.
The diplomatic department takes a very active and offensive stance. Sometimes I even have to, look, the minister smiles, reminds Sergei Viktorovich that he is not the Minister of Defense but the Minister of Foreign Affairs. No, no, no.
Well, this is the message that Vladimir Putin is sending, and notice that on this subject, he's actually right. Lavrov seems more like a Minister of Defense than a diplomat. There's nothing diplomatic about Lavrov. In any case, their diplomacy is very aggressive, and well, it's a lot of aggressive rhetoric, which is as far as they can go. Something else also stands out, right? Check this out. Let's listen.
We clearly reject this kind of diplomacy through Twitter. And now let's move on to the facts. The Director General of the Ministry, of our ministry, spoke earlier today with the Israeli Prosecutor's Office, which has begun an investigation into the matter. When you examine something, you check the facts. The vessel has not entered the port and has not yet presented its documents. It is not possible to verify the truthfulness of the Ukrainian claims regarding the falsification of the bill of lading. So far, the Ukrainian government has not submitted any request for legal assistance. He posted tweets. This is necessary when the claims refer to criminal acts committed abroad. The Ukrainian government has also not provided evidence to support its claims. Israel is a state that respects the rule of law. The Israeli authorities are obliged to act in accordance with the law. Legal debates must be based on evidence. As I have already said, we reject it. We reject Twitter diplomacy, and we will not allow ourselves to be influenced. That's why we reiterate to our Ukrainian friends that if they have any evidence of theft, they should present it through the appropriate channels. And I'm not finished. Is there any issue you'd like me to give you more details about? No, I thought you were. Lastly, It's a bit surprising, coming from a country that we support in international forums, that we support in so many ways, including humanitarian aid. In many ways, most recently with power generators last winter, but that's probably just how life is. We will remain true to our principles.
Thank you. Well, Israel is upset with Ukraine because of Ukraine's criticism regarding Russia buying stolen food, according to what Ukraine says. And well, what Israel says is that they should send proof and do it through diplomatic channels, right? The message is, hey, look, we're asking you not to buy from them, or that they didn't do it that way. When? Well, yes, first it should be done diplomatically, and then afterwards. If they listen to you, then you send a tweet or whatever, but not through a tweet first. If they react later, right? That's what Israel says was done, right? We'll see what Ukraine says now, right? There's going to be some back and forth. It's going to be pretty interesting, right? Also, well, there's this comment. It's Mohammed Navivian, Deputy Director. Let's see what this person says in that regard. And just a bit of the details about what's happening on Iranian television. Let's listen.
The struggle between Islam and disbelief means that the entire world of disbelief, with all its technology, has confronted the entire Islamic world, led by the Iranian nation. Someone might say, no, it's not a struggle between Islam and disbelief. They might say that Saudi Arabia isn't Muslim, that the Quran is from there, I don't know, all that. The answer is clear. We have two types of Islam, American Islam and the pure Islam of Muhammad. Peace and blessings be upon him. 50% of Islam is fighting against the world of disbelief. In fact, being a Muslim is meaningless without fighting against the world of disbelief. From now on, anyone who messes with Hamas, not just Hezbollah, but all the fronts of the resistance, Hezbollah, Hashd al-Shabi, the resistance factions, Ansarullah from Yemen, Gaza, and the West Bank. The Islamic Republic of Iran has declared that anyone who looks at these groups the wrong way will be facing us. From now on, seriously, we will never forget ourselves. Negotiating now would only bring absolute losses. No one should go to negotiate at this moment. We must humiliate the United States. The Iranian people are on their way, God willing, to crush the United States under their feet.
We absolutely do not accept its removal.
No way.
Take out 400 kilos of uranium?
Just a little bit, a little bit.
Not even a gram.
If we don't accept even a single gram.
Now we have two main red lines.
What? What red line?
3 red.
Strait of Hormuz, removal of material and enrichment.
And none of this is a concession that we have made so far to the other party.
There is no agreement, I would say. No agreement has been reached. The same words have been exchanged. That's what I mean. He shouldn't have come to say anything. How dare he? This is not negotiable. For him to come and say, sir, you shouldn't be enriching, I don't know. Why do you care to get involved in this?
What's the point of negotiating with these 3 red lines?
There's no benefit at all. That's why I say he's not going to release a single cent. During Marty Raisi's term, we released a prisoner. Let me say this quickly here. Supposedly, $6 or $7 billion from South Korea had arrived in Qatar. Did they give it to us or not? They didn't give a single dollar. Now I'm saying it's not in Qatar, not in the Qatar account. It's actually in Germany. It's not even here for you to do anything about it. That's the United States. The United States only responds to force. We should have acted as we did in the Jason Rezaian case. We said bring it in a suitcase. You empty that same suitcase, put the prisoner in, and take him away. That's how you deal with the United States. We're loading our magazines. We're loading them better than they are. Here, at the service of the people of Iran, I say it. Since they have so much equipment that they didn't need to reload during the truce. But we needed to do it so we could improve our missiles. And thank God, we increased our readiness.
Well, that's part, let's say, of the narrative on Iranian television. You can see how there's a group that clearly doesn't want to negotiate and says they're not going to negotiate anything at all, not even a gram of uranium. That's why, as you say, there's no possibility of negotiation. I mean, at least it doesn't seem like there will be one. I mean, the internal narrative can also be very different from the external one. Meanwhile, on other topics, Donald Trump makes a statement. He makes the following comment. This happens while he's with King Charles III of England.
Thank you all very much. What a beautiful British day this is. And it really is. Your Majesties, members of the British delegation, friends, members of the armed forces, and distinguished guests, welcome to the beautiful White House. It is a great honor to have you here. Melania and I will never forget the spectacular honor that Your Majesties bestowed upon us during our time. It was an extraordinary visit to Windsor Castle last September. Now it is our great privilege to welcome you, and you will have a wonderful, though brief, stay, but a stay nonetheless. Then you will go to Congress and give a speech that will make everyone very envious of your beautiful accent. Very elegant. He is a very elegant man.
Good. Well, the hatred that's there. That his mom was a fan, that she thought he was handsome when he was, well, so a bunch of things like that were said by Trump today. But anyway, it's part of it, or at least a short video here just to see how this went. How have you been? Greetings, Raul Sachs. What's up? A very warm welcome to everyone in the community who's joining. Thank you so much. Chebola, Master Shifu, Susana, what's up? Well, to the whole community, let's move on to other important matters as well. Let's go to the news. Well, some strange things have been happening today. Check out this case. Someone took their sister. Unfortunately, she was already dead when he took her to the bank in India to withdraw money. Again, these kinds of cases happen. A man in the tribal community of Odisha state in western India. He dug up his already deceased sister. He took her to a bank branch to withdraw her savings account after the bank refused to grant him access to her funds. I visited the bank multiple times and they told me I needed to bring the account holder to withdraw money in her name. I told them she had passed away, but they still insisted I bring her to the bank. I dug up the grave and took out the skeleton as proof of her death. He declared this to the media in Tumunda. Well, obviously the incident happened after this misunderstanding occurred. The man already had his sister's death certificate, and well, that was the only way to make the withdrawal, since they wouldn't accept the certification even when he showed the document to the employees. So Munda became desperate. This person became desperate and did this. The bank's intention, he says, was to protect the funds in this tribal woman's account. But at the last moment, it seems like they didn't know how to listen. I don't know what happened. The bank was Indian Overseas Bank, a bank that is based in rural areas, and well, sometimes things just don't work out. I'm not sure if they understood or what happened, but it was obviously terrible. When the man showed up with his deceased sister, the employees called the local police to handle the matter. According to the bank, after speaking with the authorities, Munda buried his own sister again. The police convinced him. He was asked to obtain the proper death certificate, but he had only brought copies. They say he was innocent and didn't understand that he needed to bring the original certificate. Well, apparently after that, the bank gave the money to the brother. Well, that's how things were. Apparently he didn't have any other relatives, and well, he was the only one left. another matter that also draws attention. That's what's happening. With Mars, it seems they're trying to find a formula to reach Mars in a much simpler way. Let's go into the details of what is known, what is being investigated right now, and a discovery they've made, a proposal that the scientists are making. A shortcut, then, that would mean the orbits of asteroids could drastically reduce the travel times for future missions. With the idea of going to Mars, well, that's something that's been promised for years now. Supposedly 2025 was the deadline to reach Mars, but the truth is that this is still far from happening. Let's get into the details of what is known, at least up to now, and let's say, well, after all, within all of this, let's say this logic of going to Mars and everything related to it. I mean, the logic is to go to Mars to set up a base, not just for the sake of it. The moon at first, back in the time of the Soviet Union and all that, but now the idea is to go with the intention of staying, maybe even without coming back. The new study published in the scientific journal Acta Astronautica suggests that the revolutionary method could drastically reduce travel time between Earth and Mars. According to their report, this round trip could be done in just 153 days. That's something that completely breaks with the current standards of space exploration. Today, a traditional mission to Mars takes between 6 to 9 months just to get there. This means that the new method could cut down entire months of space exposure. The study, led by Marcelo Oliveira Sousa, a researcher at the State University of Northern Rio de Janeiro, proposes using trajectories inspired by asteroid orbits. The key would be to take advantage of early orbital data from small celestial bodies, to find gravitational shortcuts that are not being used today. The chosen asteroid would be asteroid 2001 Ka-21, whose orbit passes close to Earth and Mars, serving as a geometric reference for more efficient routes. The analyses would have already been reviewed in other launch windows. For example, this will be analyzed soon in 2027. Another review will be done in 2029, and another review will be done in 2031. The finding would be incredible. Starting from 2031, it would offer a perfect alignment. So that would be the ideal date to use faster routes. The 2031 window could even allow for 2 complete round-trip missions in less than a year. Just imagine, that would be ideal. In 2031, it would be possible to have a complete round-trip mission to Mars in the same year, which would be, by the way, historic for human exploration. That would have a huge impact on fuel, costs, and safety. I mean, come on, it would be cheaper, safer, and humans would face less exposure there. The proposal doesn't mean following the exact orbit of the asteroid, but rather using a similar orbital geometry as a reference based on the asteroid. Well, this is just crazy. The most important fact is that this speeds up the real possibility of sustained human missions on the Red Planet and brings the dream of a permanent human presence beyond Earth closer. This is the approach. Finding more efficient, cheaper formulas. More is not about greetings. How is Roble? Huge greetings. Greetings to those from Cuba. Anahiso, how are you? Greetings. Yes, greetings. This is Ada Francisco. How have you been? Very good. Greetings to the whole community. Who else is here? Maestro, yes, how are you? Greetings. Very good. Well, to the whole community that is arriving and to those who are out in the cold with other important matters as well.
Regarding the current situation, we have not considered the war to be over. Since the very day the war stopped and, in a way, a ceasefire or silence was established on the battlefield. Is there no trust? In the United States and with our enemies, we have always acted with the same seriousness as during the war. We have tried to update our objectives, update the target list, and continue with our training. We have taken advantage of the experiences from the war, and in fact we have produced and updated our equipment, and for us the situation is still a state of war. Command, vision, and kits. Yes. It continues without interruption. It has continued without interruption, and right now I assure you and our dear nation, If the enemy tries to commit another act of aggression, they will face new tools, new methods, and in new areas from the Republic, the Islamic Republic of Iran and the Army of the Islamic Republic of Iran. And we, decisively, using these new tools and the experiences we've gained from these two wars of 12 and 40 days, will undoubtedly confront the enemy in the new scenarios.
Well, that's part of the reaction shown on Iranian television this time by the spokesperson of that country's army. Well, that's what I'm telling you. I insist the narrative, the rhetoric is that the conflict is going to continue. That's the constant, and well, it seems that's where the focus is headed to. Look at what happened in the ocean. What we're seeing here is a whale that's about to burst. According to the reports, they found this whale, a dead whale. This happened in the United States, on the beaches of California, by the way. A big shout out to everyone watching us over there. Because of this, an alert had to be issued for possible sharks in the area. At California State Parks, they reportedly found this whale today very close to San Elijo State Beach, right? About 400 meters from the coast, according to the report. More of this kind of... Well, this kind of whale attracts scavenger animals, among them sharks. That's exactly why the alert was issued. The cause of death has not been determined. Experts from NOAA will be collecting samples for analysis. A citizen reported this at 7 in the morning after seeing the body floating near Tower 16 of the San Elijo camp. The lifeguards and specialized personnel acted quickly, moving the body away from the shore with jet skis and then towing it further out to sea with a larger boat. They took it away. Here is the moment when these boats are pulling the whale. They're pulling it with the jet skis. I mean, they reached the jet skis there, tie it up, they tied it up. And they sent it over there. They moved it away from the shore, right? According to the reports, during the maneuvers, during the movements, they encountered a 5-meter shark. Just imagine, there's already a shark there. So, well, they were warned to be careful in that area of the sea. The warning signs will remain on the affected beaches for at least 24 hours, according to California officials. That too. Well, please keep that in mind. It's part of what happens over there. Another matter also draws attention. This image that is circulating shows how robots will be in Tokyo, at Tokyo's Haneda International Airport. Robots will be used to ease the physical burden on human workers. According to reports, this is going to happen. Well, it's already happening. This collaborative initiative with the GMO Internet Group will begin in May 2026 and will continue until 2028, with the goal of easing the physical burden on human workers. With the increase in tourism and the growing shortage of staff in these areas, according to Japanese media reports, Haneda, for example, is one of the busiest airports in the world with more than 60 million people a year. According to estimates, Japan would need more. It will require 6.5 million foreign workers in 2040, by the way, plus tourism. Well, it causes a lot of traffic in that part of the world, so be aware of this situation as well. Also, among the interesting news from around the world, look, a woman reportedly gave birth during a flight between Atlanta and Portland. The birth happened 30 minutes before landing, and by the way, they had to make an emergency landing. The birth was assisted by 2 paramedics from Oregon who happened to be on the same plane as they were returning from vacation. The passenger gave birth on board Delta Airlines Flight 478 from Atlanta to Portland just minutes before making an emergency landing at Portland International Airport. On Friday night, the intervention of the paramedics allowed the delivery to be completed successfully, with the arrival of a baby girl in good health, weighing approximately 2.5 kilograms and measuring 47 centimeters in length, according to the airline spokesperson, Sabrina Cole, as quoted by U.S. media. That's also tremendous. And another issue that draws attention is what's happening with the hippos in Colombia. There are a lot of hippos that belong to those hippos that were brought by the boss from over there in Colombia. Not at the time. Well, these are hippos that are, they've been growing, right? 80 of these hippos are going to be taken to another place. This is thanks to a magnate. The hippos of the drug trafficker Pablo Escobar, which are basically like the legacy he left in Colombia, are going to be taken to another region of the world. An heir, a millionaire from India named Anath Ambani, reportedly offered to take the 80 hippos to his own wildlife rescue center in western India, after Bogota allowed euthanasia, or that they planned to eliminate them. Well, that's what this one says. A millionaire can do it. He can take 80 of these hippos. Well, Ambani, who is the youngest son of the richest man in Asia and an executive of the business empire called Reliance Industries. He proposes that the hippos be moved to the Ventara Conservation Center in the state of Gujarat, where, by the way, there are already large primates, big cats, elephants, and other rescued animals living there. So, well, this move might possibly happen. Let's see what Colombia says about it too, right? We'll see, won't we? But at least this situation is interesting. Let's move on to other points, other important topics in Colorado, United States. They are also about to create the Tamal Law, a law that will be called the Tamal Law. Just imagine that. The idea is to legalize the sale of homemade food by immigrants and open the door to businesses, tacos, burritos, pupusas, enchiladas, and so on. No, because sometimes the rules are very strict and then suddenly, well, there's no way for them to meet all those requirements. People who come from other countries, selling tamales and burritos and all these kinds of things and other traditional foods, they will be part of the daily economy, and in fact, they already are part of the economy for thousands of people in the United States and all over the world, right? However, in much of the country, this activity remains limited by health laws that prevent the sale of homemade food. For example, in your home, you can't sell anything either, right? Colorado aims to change that with the proposed initiative. It's called the Tamal Law, a legislative proposal that aims to legalize the sale of homemade food by home cooks or entrepreneurs, especially within Latino and immigrant communities. According to the report, that's very interesting, and well, it would also give a gastronomic boost to that state, right? That would be really interesting. Well, it's a proposal that's being promoted by Congresswoman Monica Duran, who's a Democrat, along with a Republican congressman named Ryan Gonzalez. So both Republicans and Democrats want to push this law forward. I think it would do a lot of good for many people. Now let's move on to other important matters. Music. Well, they want to rename ice as nice. So in the end, they really do want to rename ice as nice. It's crazy, but well, that's how things are, right? The President of the United States sparked conversation on social media again after publicly supporting the proposal to change the name of the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Service to NICE. Yes. So basically, instead of ICE, it would be NICE, right? The N would stand for national, right? That would basically be the idea, right? Nice means, well, pleasant. It means kind, pleasant, right? So then when you say nice, you would say something like the pleasant ones or the pleasant agents, the agents of nice or the nice agents. I don't know. It's weird, right? The topic, but well, it's part of what's being done and it's about a user, right? Who knows if it's a bot, if it's really a user, whatever, but they made this post, right? Here's what happened. They posted it in English, not Spanish, as expected. I want Trump to change ICE to NICE, National Immigration and Customs Enforcement Service, so that the media has to say NICE agents all day, every day. And Trump replied to him and said, great idea, do it, not like you, right? Something like that. President, so that's the topic. This one that's about to have, obviously ICE already had a series of really tough controversies and accusations. Very unfortunate about the mistreatment they've done to migrants over there in the United States, right? And to migrants and non-migrants as well, right? People from the United States too. It's an issue that is still very unfortunate. So let's move on to other important matters. Notice that the director of the FBI, Kash Patel, is currently working on a proposal related to this correspondence event. You know that the event where there was an attack on US politicians or an attempt to attack the United States is going to be held again. An armed man entered this Hilton Hotel in Washington, D.C., right? Over there in the capital of the United States. Well, the director, Patel, promises to completely change the security for the next dinner, and the proposal is even to hold it somewhere else. He assured that the security protocol for the White House Correspondents' annual dinner will be completely different if the event is held again. During the interview he gave, by the way, to Fox News, Patel stated that federal authorities are already working on a new security strategy for a possible rescheduling of the event, which could take place in approximately 30 days according to what the US president himself said after an operation. Well, that's part of what, by the way, thank you so much to the community members of the channel who send us a super chat. Really, it's very important for keeping the channel going. That basically makes it possible for us to be here. All the support you give makes it possible for us to be here every day commenting on the news live. So thank you to all that community. To those who support us, who share, who give us a like, maybe even send a super chat. We really appreciate it. Big greetings to everyone. Greetings to Manuela, who sent us a super thanks a little while ago in the early morning. Thank you very much. Also to Luis and Raquel and the whole community. Raquel says the following. Let's see, if you ask how the economy is where we live, I assure you that it's gradually going up, especially when you go to the market. I mean, just a little bit. Prices are going up, right, Raquel? That's what you feel. Which state are you in or which country are you in? Please tell us. This would be interesting, especially for those who go to the supermarket, who do the grocery shopping for their home, and so on. Tell us how you feel about it, how you see it, right? The other day I asked Astrid here with you all, and she told us about that there is a noticeable increase, right? How are you? And how is Galicia? It's my second day as a married woman, and I have no regrets. Thank you so much, and I hope things stay this way for a long time. I also want to thank Luis. How have you been? He asks where the robots are working. Well, it's a project right now. They're not working yet, but it's a project they're starting this year, and they're going to begin testing it. I imagine it's going to be gradual. This is Japan, in one of the airports in Japan, and they could expand this, right? They're working on it. Remember, Japan's problem is that they don't have a lot of people. I mean, they're still around 130-something million people. But they don't have much staff, or they would have to bring in a lot of immigrants, which they don't really like. Or they use robots, because it's one thing or the other, right? No, I don't know if the situation is complicated, so well, that's what they see over there, right? Great. Adelson, how have you been? Well, greetings to my namesake Jose. Greetings, great. And we also tried other matters, other important topics. Interim Attorney General Blanche is already asking the court to allow construction of the White House ballroom to resume, an issue that is on hold because of the budget and a series of problems that have come up, and it remains on hold for now. The Interim Attorney General is looking for this to continue, especially because of the attack. Well, who knows? I mean, in the end, well, this. There's a lack of trust, right? I mean, there's a lack of trust about what happened there at that moment, right? I mean, it's not trust that's present. Well, what evidence they may have or not, but there's a lack of trust about the incident. I mean, what a coincidence. And that's what Trump's same rhetoric or style of operating or commenting has also generated this, because it creates distrust about whether the event was real or not. I mean, if the attack really... Well, this one was let through on purpose. In the same comment that this individual makes, this Californian professor who goes and takes weapons to the hotel and shoots and all that, in the comments he makes, he says it's surprising how little security they have. And he points out exactly that on a certain floor there was no security, and on another floor neither. I don't know what, I mean, all those kinds of things. You say, how is it possible that they missed that, right? So right now in circles, from social networks, let's say, not from people's own opinions, left, right, etc., Well, people don't trust this event, right? Because they say this is to increase popularity because it's at its lowest point. And another point that people also see is that, well, that's a situation in which if you're going to have an event with the president, vice president, secretary of state, secretary of the treasury, rather, yes, secretary of the treasury, yes. We're discussing major figures. The secretary of war, they were all there. It seemed like the place needed heavy security. It was supposed to be super, super, super secure, and it wasn't. So it's strange that these are issues that have been causing problems. By the way, the United States announced that they will deny visas to immigrants with pro-Palestinian or anti-Semitic views. It's a topic that has obviously generated controversy as well. Donald Trump's government issued new guidelines for granting a green card and visas. They haven't disclosed much about the topic, but they have given details about the issue I just mentioned. No. This is reported by the New York Times. The rules come from the Department of Homeland Security's internal training materials for employees to consider the request for permanent residency or green cards for migrants. The expression of their political opinions will be important when making a decision about whether to accept a migrant or not. Yes. Right? I mean, their political position will be important. They say, also today's amusing image. It looks like this one is playing. I mean, this bird grabs a wire and it looks like it's hanging and just stays there floating, kind of swinging. It acts like that and doesn't go back up. No, Grandma, it goes back up. It hooks itself and doesn't notice. Like when you grab onto a rope or a swing, right? Basically, it's not the birds doing it. I mean, it's not the first time I've seen birds. From what I understand, it seems like they're playing, right? I mean, what? Well, I mean, it shows a level of intelligence, doesn't it? When an animal plays, right? There are also animals that are pretty smart. At least that's what I think. And like monkeys, dogs, etc., the little animals, dolphins, and so on, they tend to be playful, right? And that's it. Well, we also see it in some types of birds, right? That's something that stands out today as well. By the way, another thing that stands out. Today, well, amid this activity in the Strait of Hormuz, we are observing the exit of this little boat. Let's take a look at the little boat. Because it's huge. This little boat, this luxury yacht, right? It's called El Norte. It's a luxury yacht they reportedly let leave the Strait of Hormuz. It caught attention because this little boat, this ultra-luxury yacht, is said to belong to a Russian oligarch. The super yacht, owned by billionaire Alexei Mordashov, was able to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, which is blocked for many things, but not for ships or for certain types of ships. What is believed to have happened is that he might have paid money to pass. That's what is believed to have happened. Nobody knows for sure. They say the super yacht passed through the strait without any problems. This type of ship had been seen in Dubai, right? It had been there for maintenance work in that area. And since neither Iran nor the United States had objections to it passing, Iran gave permission. The United States gave permission and the ship went on to continue sailing through the ocean. That's it. Well, it draws attention today, doesn't it? If some ships pass by, that also draws attention. Also, by the way, Cuba is proposing stricter restrictions on shipments and travel from the United States. The implementation of a decree law, yes. On the island, it is causing concern among families and businesses in Miami due to increased customs controls, inspections, and possible confiscation of packages and luggage. There is, or people are experiencing, a reconfiguration among them. There is a problem that has been increasing between the Cuban government and the United States government, in which the pressure from the United States is rising. But now there are also responses from the Cuban regime. That was also to be expected. It was something that was bound to happen sooner or later. We'll have to see later, and we'll see if we can get a dubbed version of that, of the message that King Charles III is going to give in the United States Congress. Because I think there will be some interesting topics there that might hint at some comments about what's happening in the world. I don't know, right? Maybe some analysis, some commentary, who knows, right? As far as you want. Well, just be diplomatic. And that's it. Or give a comment that goes a little further. but it's expected that at least something interesting might come out of it. Let's discuss other important matters too. Right now, the United States is speeding up the deportation of migrant children. According to reports from administration officials and lawyers for the minors, they say that measures are being taken to speed up the deportations of migrant children under U.S. custody amid pressure from the White House for the minors to be processed more quickly. Children as young as 4 years old are being forced to appear repeatedly before the court and report on the status of their case, sometimes without legal assistance. Within a matter of weeks, this can be very difficult for a child to go through alone. The initiative is raising alarms among lawyers and advocates who argue that the rushed deadlines could result in vulnerable minors being sent back to the very conditions they were fleeing from. All of them are, in a way, confused, scared, and frustrated. They are little ones, 5, 6, 7 years old, who aren't really sure what's going on. There are children who have even arrived alone in the United States, so it's a very strange, very serious issue, right? Obviously not. And well, just take a look at this before we move on to the comments. The Gallup poll just came out. This survey is conducted from time to time to track how people in the United States feel about the economy. According to the Gallup poll, Americans right now feel worse economically than at any other time in the last 25 years. Look, I find this one more interesting, especially because, well, perception or not, or reality, it's what people end up feeling in the end. So, when the recession happened in 2008, 2009, 2010, during that whole period, did the perception feel like it was increasing, similar to what we're experiencing now, or very much like what we're experiencing now? Let's see if we can put it up here on the screen. But when that moment happened, the perception in 2008, here we can see it. At that time, the perception was also similar to what we're experiencing right now. So if we go to the list of how things are right now, this perception is even higher than in 2008. In other words, the perception that the financial situation is complicated and that things are bad economically is greater now than it was in 2008. That tells you a lot about the current feeling, but at the same time, when you look at the actual market events, so to speak, it doesn't mean the market is up. It doesn't mean strength, that everything is doing well. No, it's just that company that's doing well. But not necessarily everyone, obviously, but in the market, you see, let me tell you, the rise in the value of the S&P 500 is extremely high. Here it is. And let's see how the Nasdaq is doing. Well, it's not doing badly either. It's coming off a drop, right? Look there. Unlike the S&P 500, I mean, it's not, but it's recovering. It's fine. There it goes. So, and even what someone actually feels when they go grocery shopping and all that isn't going to be the same as what the markets show. Obviously not. That's also clear to me, but well, let's get back to the comments. It says, at the end of the month, I'm an accountant and listening with my baby. Greetings, Gigi. Look, there are also several accountants here. That's great, right? I didn't notice the month-end confusion, but now everyone is checking invoices and asking for ones they haven't received yet since it's time to close the month. Well, that's great. Greetings and good luck with the end of the month, Gigi. Greetings, Alejandro, all the way to Morelos. How have you been in Mexico? That's great. How are things, Alejandro Jimenez? So, Gabi, how have you been? Greetings to Gabi Salud, all the way to Bogota. Hello, Adriana. Greetings to Chile. He says, last week I went to Costco and everything was really expensive. It's very rare to spend less than $200 or $250, I mean. From there on up, I imagine, that's the expense or something like that. Jose, I can't imagine, right? Well, yeah, that's how things are, right? Later, we'll check at night to see if there's any data about how the first quarter is going compared to the little bit of this month so far, right? Let's see how things are going this third quarter, especially prices. I have friends in different business areas, and the feeling for almost everyone is that things are kind of slow, like everything is kind of on pause. In some areas, it's normal during Holy Week, which we just went through. So we'll have to see how the month ends to know how the next one will start. He says if it's an average of 500, okay, great, that's it. Well, we'll be back in a little while, right? We'll be back later with more reports, with other situations. Thank you very much for joining us. See you later. Goodbye. Sorry. Just a moment, please. There it is. Just a quick message before I go, before I really say goodbye. Just to tell you that we're here every day. We broadcast in the morning, we broadcast at night, which is something we've been trying out. Especially in the morning, that's when we're not sure if we should broadcast several times with individual reports, right? Like 2 or 3 news stories. And as the day goes on, other times we prepare an extended broadcast like right now, right? So I'd like your opinions. Obviously, don't hold back your opinion, and I'd love to know what you prefer. If you prefer short broadcasts, either way, for all the long broadcasts, we make clips, edit them, and upload them in sections, right? I mean, also, we upload the episodes a little later. The episodes with all the news we comment on appear, so sometimes you might want to skip ahead. Look, there's a list of all the news topics we talked about, and you can skip to whichever one you want. That's also really interesting. Well, that's something we're doing after the live broadcast. So just so you know, that's also happening. I'm saying it's a topic people had requested, and we're trying to make it happen. For example, if you join the broadcast, look here, I'll show you quickly. If you joined last night's broadcast, right? If you haven't seen it, check it out, please. But in that broadcast, what we saw, let's see if we can put it here. Here it is. Look, I mean, in that broadcast. Well, this is what we analyzed or what we saw. You can see all of that yourself in parts. I don't know. Here I'm logging in. Let me see if you can see it. There it is. So you go into the live stream, and in the section, there's street. There it is. There's the chat, right? But if you go to the comments, let's look down in the comments. There it is. Or in the description too. Allow me. Here it is. There it is. The comment is pinned there in the comments. Take a look. All the reports are there with the timestamp. You click here, right? So you click here and it will go straight to the story. It says, military operation in Mexico, capture of Mencho's successor. You click it and it goes, unusual case of abandoned fish. Here it goes. Oro rejects the toll charge for the Strait of Hormuz. Arrest of Buddhist monks with drugs in Sri Lanka. It doesn't go. There it is. And that's how you leave, right? I mean, first electric air taxi flight in the United States. And there it is. You click it and it takes you straight there. It takes you straight to the report, right? Sometimes that's not known. That's why it's interesting to mention it. And another thing I'll try not to forget is the community section, right? Where Jose Christie and others have gone ahead and commented, made a post, or uploaded a photo and so on, right? I mean, you can do it too. I mean, you go to the community section, which is this area, Pepe en Vivo community. And there in the recent section, they show up. You have the possibility to post a comment like the one MT posted. If you scroll down, you'll see Jose's post from a day ago about the roses I mentioned. And there they are, right? Posts that you yourselves have made, right? So that's really cool. There are also polls and other things there, right? That you can do perfectly well, right? Like this poll that, by the way, check out the result, right? 1,400 votes. We did that one 6 days ago, right? Who really controls Iran today? That's what the report says, right? And here the opinion of the community is very clear, right? 76% think that it's the Revolutionary Guard that's controlling the, the country. 11% think that it's divided. There it is. Divided power, 11%. 8% say no one, that it's chaos, right? And then 5% say it's the civil government. So the one with the lowest rating is the civil government. El gobierno básicamente es como... Just for show, right? I think the opinion is interesting. Thank you very much for 1,400 votes, by the way. I think the community's participation is really great. And hey, where are the polls? Well, I already told you, right? They're in the community section. That's where the interesting part is, let's say, in that sense, right? I just wanted to make that clear as well. So let's go through the last comments since I stayed a little longer. Let's go to the comments, and if you're still here, right? He says long episodes are great, but there should be more time to comment and talk. I mean, yes, right? It does feel like that's missing, so we'll stay a bit longer. Honestly, I love it. Sometimes I don't want to bore you either, but I really love being here. I could chat here for a long time and feel completely comfortable. I really enjoy talking. It says they're transporting the oil by railroad to the Caspian Sea. Apparently that could be the case. Yeah, that's a good point there. Thanks for bringing it up, Sergio Para, because that would be the way, right, to transport the oil. Let's go to the map. Excellent comment there, because that might be the most direct way of all, right? I mean, but through the Caspian Sea, where do you go? Because look, China is on this side, right? I mean, I've seen several comments about the Caspian Sea, but you say here's the Caspian Sea and here's China. Where do you send it through the Caspian Sea? To Russia? Why are you going around Russia? So what? Where? To Kazakhstan? Maybe, right? Maybe. I mean, maybe it could go, maybe Kazakhstan will be the intermediary country, right? Because Russia would be too much of a detour, right? Going there. But Kazakhstan could work. Just remember that Kazakhstan has also had a good relationship with the United States. I don't know if they want to get involved in this issue. What do you think? Sergio, do you think so? That they'll take the risk? Or about where? Could it be Turkmenistan? I mean, these are countries that lately, look, we have to remember that the United States has tried to have a good relationship with these three countries recently. I mean, they've tried to improve it. Three very interesting countries, by the way, with some pretty unusual characteristics. Culturally, if you want a better example, I'm not sure. These sections just remain, they stay in the... I remember because I love the subject, but suddenly there's no time, right? That's the issue, isn't it? I've been trying to include at least one strange case that's interesting in the current broadcast or at night, you know? For example, yesterday we talked about this case of the kid, Dr. Simons, right? I say kid because he's 15 years old, you know? But he's a doctor, a double doctor, because he has 2 doctorates. A genius, right? And we talked about the really strange case of this guy. And then the day before, we talked about the case of Amy Askridge, that thing about the missing scientist, right? Well, supposedly she took her own life, right? That case is strange, especially since she documented a lot about her last days, right? And it's really, really, really strange. We also did a broadcast about that case. But I'll try to include it better within the long broadcast, and then we'll cut it and separate it, right? But in the long broadcast, I want to have a section on that topic, and another section would be to analyze some countries, country by country, right? I mean, give them like a fun fact about Uzbekistan, the way people behave, how there are certain rules. For example, the topic of the pretty strange cars there. Well, they're just interesting, aren't they? To get to know them. It says here, so you can show your experience. It says, thank you very much, Jose. It says, Jose. It says, no, sorry, Elena. Hi, Pepe. I wanted to say that the audio is very low. On other channels, it sounds better. Wow. Hold on a second. Let's see. Let's adjust the volume. So help me adjust it, but I need everyone to do it, because if not, look, I can turn it up just fine, right? Especially with these microphones. I can hear it very well here, and I see that, I mean, according to what the specifications say, I'm at the exact right spot, right? Where the volume should be, but I can turn it up. I mean, I just don't want it to get distorted, right? There will be, but you're not the only one. I mean, there are several comments telling us the same thing, and I think that's very important. So help me out, okay? And I'll turn it up and wait for your reaction, and then you tell me if it's good or bad, and that's it, right? We'll see how it goes. But yes, the volume is super important, right? Because, well, in the end, that's the thing. You arrive and you can't hear it. You have to turn it up. I mean, yeah, I totally get it. I'm going to turn it up. Here we go. Hello. Let's see. Did you hear the volume increase there? Not yet, right? Hello. Hold on. I'm checking if I'm turning it up or not. Hello, hold on. I'm going to open the program instead. I already turned it up more. There it is. That would be the volume. I think that's the limit. Without it getting distorted, I don't know what you all think. I think it can still go up a little more, and I'll show you right now. It has four settings, let's say, for the voice, right? I set it to one called bright. It only has 4, right? There's one that I like, which is this one. Look, I'm going to set it, but first I'm going to wait for the volume. See if you can hear it there and if it sounds good. There, it sounds good here. Jose Herrera Sinte says he can hear well. Okay, so for you, it sounds good the way it was? Or right now, it's fine. Yeah, I won't touch it anymore. I turned it up a bit, but that's the limit it gives me here. If I go higher, in theory, it could get distorted, right? So, Candela, how have you been? Greetings. Very good. Thank you, Cynthia, for the information. Jose says much better. Okay, well, there it goes. It's recorded. And I'll put it on street right away, so he doesn't sound any quieter, obviously. Let's see, but I'm just saying it. I'll put it on street as well. Here's street's microphone. It's on this side. I've already put it on him just like mine. So now I'll try another experiment since we're live. We're here talking. It has 4 filters that, well, I don't know. They're filters. They change a little the way the voice sounds. This one is called bright, but I like this other one, which is called radio, like radio style. Let's listen to it. Here it goes. Hello, hello, hello. How are you all doing? These are things from the day, and you can feel it. I notice the difference, but I don't notice it right now. And then later I do the test and you can tell. Let me take the microphone off. There it is, because it's picking up a little. I don't notice much difference right now, but later I see it, on the live stream, and yes, you can hear it. So this is the radio option. Here goes another one. There are 4, as I said, right? This is the radio option. Hello, how are you? Type radio if you like this one, right? Or type bright like the other one. The next one is warm. This one too. I think this was the favorite. The next one was the favorite at home. My kids and Astrid. This one was the favorite. I haven't tried it beyond that. Sometimes I send it to my brother and so on, but this time I haven't done it. This is warm. From here on, it's warm. This is another option. I insist. I hear it the same right now, right? So you guys are going to tell me warm sounds good, radio sounds good. Well, this is warm. Hi, how have you been? It says Rosoto, right? It says if everyone can hear well, turn up the volume on your phone. Greetings from Nebraska. Greetings all the way to Nebraska. Very good. Greetings to Tony. To Tony, how have you been? Tony Gutierrez, right? It's really Tony, right? Tony Gutierrez, how have you been? Greetings all the way to Spain. It says, before with the round microphone, it was louder. Greetings from Spain. With the round microphone, you can hear more. It's just that it has a lot more power, but which one did I have to set the gain on? Not on this one, so I can set the gain, right? But I don't know. Yeah, well, but thanks for the info, because I'll have to check it better on other platforms. I've checked it on the TV, I've checked it on my phone, and I hear it fine. I turn up the volume and it sounds good. But now he says now it sounded really good, okay? So now it sounds good there, the warm one, yes. Okay, so I'll leave the warm one. I'm going to put the Felima one, okay? Thank you very much. Now, Tonio says it's just that it catches my attention. I don't know. Let me just check here. This one doesn't have gain, unlike the other mic where I had to add gain in the program. In OBS, right? It's the editing program, right? I'm going to put it. Let's see if, no, don't get scared, but I already added the gain. Hello, hello, hello. There it has the minimum gain, right? It's already going even higher. Everything I'm going to set it up to the limit that this little program shows me, right? There it is. If I shout, then yeah, it might distort. But if I speak normally, it shouldn't distort up to that point. I've already got the maximum limit here and the maximum limit of the program, right? It should. That's it. Look, it's not distorting there. I don't hear anything weird. It says, Domingo, greetings, baby. It's been a while since we've caught each other on a live stream. Hey, thanks, Domingo. You've been really busy. How's everything going? If you get the notifications, if you've been getting the notifications, please let me know. Please tell me. It says bulletin. That's cool. So isn't the mic distorting there? Let me know, please, it says. Greetings, baby, from Spain. You sound good and loud, says Raquel. Thank you very much, Raquel. Hi there. And which part of Spain, by the way? Honestly, I really want to go over there and visit. It's one of those things. When you live somewhere and then leave, you kind of feel like you'll be back soon, right? I mean, it's like, oh, in a year I'll be back here again hanging out, or, I don't know, visiting friends and whatever. Many years have passed, so I'm sure I'll find a very different Spain. I guess, I don't know. I mean, the last time I went was in 2000, just imagine. 26 years, well, 25, let's say, because I left in 2000 just after, right? No, 2000, I left in 2000, because by 2001 I was already here, right? Yeah. It sounds cool. It says bulletin, this. Well, that's it. So there, we'll leave it. I won't change anything. No, well, thanks for the info, because yeah, it's super important, huh? Over there, obviously, Astrid is monitoring me. So, well, later she's gonna tell me, no, I sounded really bad, or she's gonna tell me I sounded good. I don't know, right? Later, we'll see. Later, I'll check. It says, Jose Hernandez, I'd like to know about Quitanes countries. What could that be? What could that be, Jose? Quitanes countries, what could that be? Or maybe it's he skipped a word there. Why me? It says, Damaico Luna, good evening, friends from Madrid. How have you been? Well, actually, I lived there in your homeland, Damaico Luna. I was there for a year. You know Madrid too. Cheers, Raquel and Sergio. Thank you so much, Raquel. Greetings from Jose. I always hear you clearly. Louder is better since we can adjust the volume as we like. It should be at maximum. On my end, you can turn it down or up. You have more control. I don't want you to set it to maximum and it still isn't loud. If you turn it all the way up, it should be very loud. Look, check it out. I'm sending a greeting to Ravalero. I don't know if you can still hear me, but before he was always here, and he has a tortilla and tostada business, I think, or both, I'm not sure. I mean, the factory, he owns the factory, and so he's there in Fria, right? He showed me a picture of the factory, and if you've been to a tortilla shop, you know how noisy they are. For friends from other countries, I mean, you already know what a tortilla is, but don't look up on Google what a tortilla shop sounds like, right? It's a tortilla factory, which you can find all over Mexico, right? So, you hear? A Mexican, when they hear a tortilla shop, you'll see, I mean, a Mexican, especially those who have lived in a small town, I don't know, maybe out in the country, but almost every Mexican will know. How does a tortilla shop sound? You play it and there's a squeak and a certain smell. Maybe a tortilla shop, obviously. So, the sound of tortilla shops is loud. If you're going to have a radio, or in this case, a YouTube channel like ours, well, you have to have the volume up high. That was a complaint I used to get, right? And it was totally justified. I mean, he would turn the speaker up to the max, big speakers, to listen while the tortilla shops were running, the tortillas and all that, and you still couldn't hear it. So I based it on him to be able to set the volume to the max and push it to the limit, right? That was my part, you know? And I think at some point we made it. So now with this change, I think we hadn't had the chance. Now we finally do, to be here with you all talking about this topic, right? I had it pending, and initially there were only a couple of complaints, but now there have been several, so that's how it is. I hope it's all good now. Marcelorio says, hi baby, good afternoon. About the sound, I had already noticed it a lot. When you play videos from other sources, like the ones already translated, usually the videos you play are heard at a higher volume. I mean, the ones about the chairs, and look, those chair videos come in low, and you say they sound louder. So it's really important that you told me that. And yes, several people have mentioned that to me. I mean, several have commented about Pepe. The chair videos, I have them with a lot of gain because the chair ones, you know, they don't really adjust the levels well. So it's a hassle, and each volume is different with those chair videos, right? I mean, they should, hopefully, right? If only they always set it at the same level, but they don't. So here I am, you know, monitoreando. If I see it's too loud, I turn it down. If I see it's too low, I turn it up, right? But yeah, it's a hassle, right? I mean, you realize what the AI does is imitate the voice, dub it into Spanish, but it also imitates the volume. Unfortunately, then, by imitating the volume, it really messes you up. Because, well, you have to do it live. When it's recorded, there's no problem. You know, when it's recorded, you can take your time. But live, well, you have to do it live, right? And suddenly it sounds quiet, then loud. It's something I try to avoid. I mean, if I know I'm going to have a broadcast, I try to at least have an idea. I can't set an adjustment for each one because I'd never finish, first of all. And also, it's not really divided into layers. Yeah, so it's basically the same output for everyone. So it applies to all the AI videos, right? Dubbed videos. AI, yes. So, well, let's see. Okay. Hold on a second. Let me just do something here. There we go. It says the following bulletin. It says the movie Terminator would explain the murder or disappearance of scientists, researchers, and witnesses. Also, the movie Tenet supports the theory of a visitor from the future. Right? I didn't remember the connection between Tenet and that, well, and Terminator 2, right? Imagine that everything, let's really open our minds, right? And say, what if? If it were like that, right? If it were like that, you know what? They're going to, many of those cases aren't eliminations. They're people who just aren't there. And it seems like they've been taken, right? Because, they're okay with it. Why do I say that? Because they leave all their belongings. Or at least in a good number of cases, they leave their belongings. In general, what catches my attention is the issue with the gun, right? That it's supposedly a gun, right? That catches my attention. Thank you. Sorry, but at the same time that I drink coffee, I also drink mineral water. A tip for those who talk a lot, like teachers, announcers, people who watch us, etc. Well, talking for a long time can tire your voice out a bit, etc. So, besides the fact that I don't just talk here, but also in my normal life, I talk a lot. It's just part of my personality or whatever. And so I practice, if there's a chance to practice, of course. Sorry, my wife or friends, whatever. Phone. So, mineral water, obviously with lemon and a pinch of sea salt. I'm not sure how it helps you, and I haven't looked it up. The lemon. I think the salt and lemon make the salivary glands and everything stay active. Because if not, you start to feel your voice getting dry, your mouth gets dry, and then it's uncomfortable to talk, to speak. A lot of people do that sometimes. I don't like that. And coffee, like those combinations, everyone has their quirks, everyone has their tricks. It's not like this, like the singer from Guns N' Roses to do the voice. So he has it trained, but at the same time, he also does tricks by drinking cold things, right? To raise his voice even more. That's what I've seen them do at concerts. That is, sorry. A singer, I don't know his name, but a singer of cumbion, like Mexican cumbion, cumbia from around here, who had a very high-pitched voice. You don't remember, I really don't know his name, but there are videos of him that caught my attention. His voice was very high-pitched, similar to Gonzalo Roses, but cumbia. And he's always with glasses full of ice, drinking and drinking and drinking. It's a very curious thing. Well, sorry for getting off topic. The boss of bosses, Digastris, yes, the boss, no, yes. She says, I always hear you well, but the more, let's see if she sees it now. She says, it's to justify any disappearance. Before it was the Bermuda Triangle, says Mario, the famous one. Before, no, it's still curious, but now they just don't talk about the triangle as much as they used to. But it's not just the triangle. There are several strange areas. In that sense, he says, good afternoon. About the sound, I had noticed it. Well, if you already mentioned the dubbing from the 3 neighboring countries, sorry, and the others, sorry, he says. Okay, so you think that one of them is doing something like taking the route to China, he says. My kids complain that they want... His intro is Pepe Live, I. We're going to bring it back soon. We have to bring it back. It's not very good. And yes, obviously it's here. No, it's here. Well, we already tried this one for a little while, and then we switched to the other one. They're very classic. I don't like it. I like it. That one wasn't sent by Mars. Sorry. Mr. X, I was gonna say Max Alex. No, Mr. X, Mr. X. A big shout out to Mr. X. Let's see if he's around here. Let him say hi or something. I don't know. Maybe he'll come by Tortilleria, right? What's that? Let's go, let's go, let's go. Sorry. Sorry, we're almost leaving, but we'll talk for a while tonight. Let's see, Tortilleria. Look, check it out. Let's see, there should be a video, right? Tortilleria. If Rabulero were here, I'd tell him, send us a video yourself. But no, look, that's a tortilleria. Look. That's basically a tortilla factory. Look, there's the factory. So, let's play this one. Let's put it here. Listen to the sound. Thank you. Sorry. Sorry. See, sorry. In the other house where we used to live, there was a tortilla shop a block away, right? Because they make the tortillas right there, right? So you go and pick up your little pack. Sorry. Entonces, when you arrive, there's a small store next to a tortilla shop owned by the same people, so you just go to the store. You enter through the door by the tortilla shop's checkout area, and the shop is right behind that door. Did you feel the heat? Because obviously everything is machines, and on top of that, the heat from the tortillas themselves, cooking or being made. I don't know how to explain it. So the tortilla comes out ready to eat. You take a kilo of tortillas, for example, you grab a tortilla and you can eat it right there, not by itself. A lot of people put salt on it or a little bit of avocado. You make a little taco and eat it freshly made right off the line, right out of the factory or the tortilla shop, so to speak. Others do a very curious trick. I don't know if anyone knows it, but you do it. You make a ball, it turns back into dough. I don't know why. You put salt on the dough and eat it like that. That's how I did it as a kid. So they would tell you it's some so-called trick or whatever, and they would do it there. But that's the vibe. It's the tortilla shop, not the real thing. Here's someone posts a short. They post it. It's all just shorts. There it is. Look how they do it. Honestly, I hadn't seen the other part yet, the back part where the dough is. But there, as a spectator, you can see the little path and where the tortillas go. It's like a squeaking sound. As it moves forward, you hear little background noises and that squeaking. For me, it depends. I imagine it depends on whether the machines are oiled or not. There are some machines that make a lot of noise, others that don't. That one sounds really good. Honestly, it's the one we just put on now. Those are corn tortillas, and then there are flour tortillas. I don't know if the process is the same, if it's different, or how it works. And honestly, I don't know. The machine, look, here it is. This is the machine. Let's see if we can show it here. That's the machine. Look, I hadn't seen it clearly before. This is basically from the machine above, as far as I understand with the expert here. No, not at all. On the top part is where the dough goes. There isn't any, well, I put it there, but the top part is where the man is. That's where the dough goes actually, and you can see it coming out. The dough was already coming out ready, and then the process is, well, I don't know how because it's not there. In the restaurants or taquerias where they make the tortilla by hand, that's awesome because the handmade tortilla still has a more interesting aspect to it. They're a bit thicker, more filling, tastier, I think. These are very thin, which is fine for everyday use, right? But in a little restaurant, there are certain taquerias, for example, there was one that already has its machines, but it's still almost artisanal. I mean, the machines are smaller than this one, and they make you a more, let's say, more traditional tortilla because they already give you, I don't know how the flour thing works, but they feel different. There's a place called Las Tecas here in Monterrey. There's only one, but I think it's from Playa del Carmen or from Quintana Roo. And basically, they're quesadillas. So for those friends who aren't from here, you go and there's, let's say, like a table full of stews. Maybe, say the filling could be, for example, meat in red sauce or eggs with chile, tomato, and onion. I don't know, potatoes. I mean, potatoes with some kind of sauce, potatoes just with cheese, maybe, I don't know. And like that, you have a lot of stews and you say, well, look, these are the spicy ones. These are the ones that aren't spicy. These are chicken. These are fish, like that. You know, a lot of things. And they put cheese on them. When it comes time to make the tortilla is handmade or almost handmade because sometimes they already use machines. but the tortilla is big like a burrito, but made of corn, not flour. And then they put cheese on it. They add the filling. So you say, I want this one, and this one, and it's super cheap too. So is there a profit margin for the person who runs the little restaurant? Exactly, because you don't have to be cooking different things for each customer. So it gives you a little more margin and lowers the costs. So I was surprised that, for example, in shopping malls that are really, expensive, right? All the food there is expensive. You go there, you're going to pay, I don't know, for a family of, I don't know. Let's put it in dollars so that those watching us from outside can understand it better. 4 people might eat for maybe $55 and up, but at the other place, a family can eat for $25, about half that. So all of a sudden, we feel like going out, I don't know, and we don't want to spend much. Whoever wants to join us can come along. Don't you have a bit more budget? At a restaurant, it's already around $100 or more, right? That's for the 4 of us, more or less. That's the thing. Not about quesadillas, tortillas, machinery. We always end up talking about food, right? He says, did you notice the link between the Trump attack, Canyon Travelers, or Francisco? I mean, in what way or what's going on there? He says, topics already. About this man, this Californian. He says, Mercedes says hello and sends greetings from Spain. I installed the whole news program. It's very interesting. The news is covered in depth, without sensationalism and with rigor. He says he's up to date thanks to Pepe, but thanks a lot, Mercedes. Great comment. And today, speaking of tortillas and tortilla shops, sending these great greetings all the way to Spain. And it tasted good before and after. Okay, excellent. Well, that's perfect, and I don't know how it will be. But to the extent that some people tell me, it's just that this sounds quieter. Somehow I imagine something like that. Like my friend's problem, the one I told you about, you can hear it up to a certain point. It doesn't go any higher, and so for him it was complicated. So maybe for people whose cell phones are at maximum volume and it's barely loud enough. So it's better to have more. It's better to have more than not enough, right? Dice, for me, the volume is perfect. Thank you. That's great. Thank you, Marta, for the greeting. Greetings, Adrian, and greetings from Barcelona, Spain, and beyond. Pedro Sanchez says hello once and says that he hopes a lot of people will go, but where, right? Well, that's Adrian's comment. Bulletin says mint pills, and if it already hurts, pomegranate pills. Someone has made it clear with the people he brings and problems, drama, throats, things, otherwise I imagine, and he's not from the mountains. Thank you very much for being a member of the channel. To all the members of El Canal, a huge thank you for the effort you make to support the channel. Really, thank you so much. Well, we'll keep talking later. We'll keep chatting. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care. Have an excellent day and excellent afternoon. The month is almost over, just 2 days left and April ends. Let's see what awaits us in May. Great, take care, all the best. See you later.